you ever feel like your Google Drive folders have become this huge mess? Like sometimes you feel like you spend more time searching for a file or trying to remember what you saved something as than you do actually getting your work done. It probably started out pretty organized in the beginning, you know, your system matched the number of files you had, but as you've saved more and more over the years, now when you log in, it becomes this anxiety-inducing mess of files and folders, and you don't know where anything is. If this sounds familiar, then you're really going to get a lot out of today's video, because I was in the same boat, and eventually I said, enough is enough, and I designed this 10 folder system that allows me to know exactly where any file is at any given time, and I can place my hands on it within seconds. Now, this system is designed specifically for rental property owners and real estate investors because that's what I am, but it will work for any entrepreneur with just a few small tweaks. So let's dive in. I'm Kirby Atwell from Living Off Rentals, where we believe a high quality rental property is the best investment a person can make. Now, if you're a big picture person, a CEO visionary, you know, your eyes might be starting to glaze over at this point, but please try to stay with me because you're probably going to get the most out of this of anyone. You know, the instinct can be to talk about sales and marketing and all the other sexy topics out there, and not so much about Google Drive folders and organization. You know, what does that have to do with anything? But I can tell you that my income and my investment returns have gone up in direct proportion with how organized I've become over the years. One of the side effects, I guess you could say, of going to the U.S. Military Academy for college as opposed to a regular school,
you don't scare me! Work on it! Sir, yes, sir!
Is that I had the opportunity to have OCD beat into me over the years, whether I liked it or not. The first day when you show up to West Point, you know, you're running around, you're getting yelled at, you're collecting up all the stuff, all the gear that they're gonna give you, and then you go to your room for the first time. And what you find in your room are diagrams of exactly where everything is supposed to be. And the idea is that everything you own from that point forward has an exact place. You know, they show you pictures of how your socks are supposed to be rolled and placed into the drawer, and how your uniforms are supposed to be hung in the closet and spaced exactly 3 finger lengths apart, and how your books are arranged and how your bed's made. And over the years, you become used to this environment where everything has its place. And now I kind of just instinctively live like that. And I used to think that it only applied to the physical things around me, that all my stuff had to have its place. And then recently I realized that this is true for your digital files as well. This is true for your digital life. It all needs to have a specific one place where it lives so that you know that that's the one place to find it. Now, I'm fortunate enough to be spending the month of March working from Miami, Florida, as opposed to Indiana, where we're from. My family and I came down and we're staying in this Airbnb here. And this is only possible because I've got this organization system where I know where all my files are. They're stored in a cloud-based digital organization system in Google Drive, and I can access them from anywhere in the world. So I can do my work, I can get it done from anywhere in the world. But this was not possible just a few years ago because I relied on paper and I had things all over the place and it was very disorganized. So again, this organization system gives you a new level of freedom. So if you're interested in adopting this system, in customizing it and tailoring it for your own needs, I'm about to share with you in 3 easy steps how you can get it set up as well. I'll share my screen with you. But for the first step, I don't need to share my screen with you. It's just you committing to adopting a digital system. It's crazy how many people are still addicted to the paper, the stacks of paper on their desk and all the paper that comes in the mail, and they're not willing to give up the paper to adopt a digital system. All that paper can live in the cloud and you can access it from anywhere. That paper is hamstringing you right now. It's holding you back from becoming super organized. So this file system, actually, it would work for paper files as well, but you don't need them. I have paper files. I have a file cabinet at home. And for each property that we do, we have a file, and then we have a personal folder for documents like our passport and birth certificate and social security cards. The file is only designed for items that you need the original for. So when I close on a property, I put the original deed in there, the warranty deed that's typically stamped by the county after it's recorded. And I put anything else that's notarized in there because you might need the original notarized copy at some point. Other than that, I get rid of everything. I scan the closing statement when I get home and I throw away the closing statement because you know how many times I've been asked for the original closing statement? 0. That's how many times. When I get an insurance statement or my insurance declaration page, I scan that and I get rid of the original because you don't need the original. All the companies you work with, all the insurance companies, the mortgage companies, any other company relating to your property purchasing is going to have a website. You can go to the website anytime and you can print off any of the statements or the documents that you need. So the only thing that you should be keeping on paper are originals that are notarized or they're stamped with some sort of stamp that marks them as the original. Other than that, scan it and get rid of the paper. All right, so the second step here is just getting your Google Drive folders all set up. And you might not have files to populate all 10 of these folders, but the important thing is getting Google Drive set up in the first place and then getting the infrastructure of the folder set up so that anytime you go to save a file, you know exactly where you need to save it. And then next time you need to access it, you'll know exactly where to go back to. If you don't have the infrastructure in place, you'll start saving files in random locations, and then that's when it starts to become a mess. So first, if we go over to Google Drive real quick. All right, so Google Drive. So if you're going for the first time, if you don't have Google Drive set up, this is what it's going to look like. And also, this works for Dropbox, it works for Box, it works for Microsoft Drive, I think it's called. But I really love Google Drive because, I have 3 email addresses and I log into all of them through Gmail, and then I use Google Sheets and I use Google Docs and all these other Google tools, and they all tie in really well. Also, Google owns YouTube. So there's a lot of tools that all run off your same profile within Google. So Drive is just one of them, and so that's why I like it. It's also free up to 15 gigabytes. So you can see here there's 2 options if you want to sign up. There's the personal and there's the business. Now this is more of an enterprise, the business side for larger businesses. So I would recommend signing up for the personal. And when you sign up for the first time, it's going to ask you to sign up through your Gmail account. So if you don't have a Gmail account, you're going to have to create one, and then all of your Google tools will be linked together. But if you do have it set up already, it'll just take you right to your Google Drive. So this is what it's going to look like once you set up your Google Drive. Now, you won't have these folders in here, but these are the folders that I'm greeted with. Now, what happens a lot of times after you start using Google Drive for a while, all of a sudden you'll log in, and down here, these are at the top, these are just recent documents that I've looked up, but down here, when you look at your folders, you're going to see a lot of extraneous folders that are named weird names or named differently, numbered differently. You're going to see a lot of files that are randomly saved here, and it's just sort of a jumbled mess if you don't have a system like this. Instead, I've set up these 10 folders where any file that I ever save, there's a logical place for it to fall into, because there's just a logical naming convention and a numbering convention for the files so they stay in the right order, because if you don't number them, they're going to automatically default to being alphabetical. So anytime you save a new folder or a new file with it, that falls in the middle of the alphabet, it'll mess up the order of your folders and you won't know exactly where it is. So that's why I number them first in the exact same way, and then I've got a naming convention that really captures any file that I could ever save. The other aspects that I want to talk through here are over here. There's a couple places that are kind of shortcuts for you. So My Drive is going to take you to your folders that we're on now. shared with me, this will take you to any folders or files that are shared with you, so other people can share folders for you to, or files for you to work on, and then you can go here and see any files that have been shared with you so that you can work through it collaboratively with them in the cloud, and all the changes are in real time. So you can share files with other people, they can share them with you. It's one of the nice advantages of Google Drive. You also can open recents. So if you were working on something and you closed your browser and then you want to work on that again, you just go back to recents and it'll be right at the top there for you to work on. Another nice feature of Google Drive is that there's a search bar at the top. So you can literally just type in the name of any document or folder and it'll pop right up. Or you can search by the type of document that it is. Or over here, they've got this drop down arrow here. So under this, you can search by the type of file it is, the location, any date range. So if you know you created it 6 months ago, you can create kind of the date range and search by date range so it pops up. So this is kind of nice too. Now, I don't use Google Drive on the web very much. Most of the time I'm using it on my desktop, and then my desktop automatically will sync with the web version. So let me just show you what I'm talking about here. So if you go over to this wheel here, this is your settings. The second option down here is Get Drive for your desktop. So if you click on that, it will give you the option to download Google Drive on your desktop. So once you download it on your desktop, then it's going to be a file within your Finder. If you're using a Mac, it's called Finder. I don't know, PCs are called something different, but I'm a Mac guy. So on the Mac, within the Finder, you know, where all your main folders are for your computer, Google Drive is going to be one of them. So anytime you save anything in that Google Drive folder on your desktop, or you save it in the web version here, they will sync between each other. So you don't have to go back to the web all the time. You can just save it on your desktop and you know it'll be synced here once it goes through the syncing process. So I'm going to switch over to the desktop version to go through the third step, and that's just setting up the actual folders. All right, so here we are in Desktop Finder for step number 3, and this is where all your main computer files are stored, your main folders that house your computer files. And so once you download Google Drive, you'll see that it shows up over here with all the other main folders that you've got for your computer. So when I click on Google Drive, you can see that it looks suspiciously like the Google Drive that we just looked at on the web, because they mirror each other. I downloaded it for my computer and I synced it so that all my files here mirror with the files in the web. And once it's downloaded, you can go to your settings and you can change it so that not all files sync. You know, if you have some that you just want to live on your desktop and you don't want them to sync with the web, you can set it up that way too. But you'll probably find that it's easiest just to have them all sync so you can access them from either your computer when you're offline, or when you're online, you can access them from the cloud from anywhere. So this looks just like the web, and there's, like I said, I've got a 10 folder system, and I'll go through each one quickly and I'll sort of explain why I came up with this numbering and naming convention. And again, I took some best practices from some others who are really organized, and I've adopted them and sort of tweaked it to make it my own, especially as a real estate investor. And that's, you'll see some of these files or folders are geared more toward real estate investors. So I lied, there's actually 12 folders here. They're numbered 1 through 10, but then we've got the collection box and we've got archive. So I'll get back to the collection box and archive, but I'm just going to go through each folder one by one and tell you how I've got it set up so that you understand how any file that you save, exactly where it should go. So the first folder is the admin, tax, and legal. So this is this relates to the different entities and the different tax and legal structure that you've got in place and all the different files that relate to that. So when I open it, again, I use the same numbering convention so that it's very well organized within the subfolder, within admin, tax, and legal. Then I've got 6 subfolders, and you can add subfolders if there's a main category that makes sense to where you can break it down even further. But for me right now, these are the folders that I can separate all my admin, tax, and legal files into. So any entities that I have, right now I have 5 entities that I buy properties within, and I do business within these 5 entities. They all serve a different purpose. And so I've got each one labeled. And so I know exactly where any entity documents are. So if someone says, hey, I need the EIN number for Cambridge Group LLC, I can just come over here. I know it's in my entity folder. I know it's in Cambridge Group. And then within each one of these, it's the exact same convention. So I've got entity formation information, and then I've got bank account information, because each entity is going to have entity formation docs, and then they're also going to have their own bank accounts. So I can find that information really easily as well. Again, tax is very similar. Tax docs and returns, bookkeeper, W-9s, it's all in here. And I label my tax docs and returns by the year so that as I'm going throughout the year, I can just drop any 2020 tax docs in there. And then also at the end of the year, once my taxes are filed, the return lives here as well, because there's so many times you're going to need to go back and access your last 3 years worth of returns, and you're not going to know where to find them. You're going to be searching around for them. It's all right here, and that's for all entities, so you can quickly grab those and send them. You can even share the link to it within Google Drive, so you don't even have to email it. It's very simple. I have a bookkeeper, and so each bookkeeper that I've used in the past has their own file, W-9s, so that I can send out 1099s at the end of the year. I just drop them all in here throughout the year. It's easy for my bookkeeper. Legal, any attorneys that I work with each have their own folder. Insurance specific. Now, insurance relating to properties are within the property folder, because I want to break it down by property, but this is insurance for any assets that I have that are not related to properties. So we've got a few trucks in the business and the insurance for those trucks are right here. HR, there's team members. Each team member that I have has a file in here, and then business assets. They're right there. It's a couple different trucks that we have right now are the business assets, really, beyond the properties that I've got. So that's like the admin, the tax, the legal. It keeps it super organized, because a lot of that stuff is the stuff that gets disorganized first, because there's so much admin stuff relating to the actual business dealings that you're doing. So file or folder number 2 is the finance folder. So you can see how this is set up. So you can expand these so that you can see the full name also. So number 1, I've got financial model and budget. So anytime I'm working on my financial model or my budget, I save it right here. Monthly financials, my bookkeeper can drop in to each month. He can drop in the financial statements that I want. So I can say, hey, I hire a bookkeeper and I say on the 10th of the month, I want the previous month's income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement dropped into this folder so that I can review it on the 10th, and we can go over it then if there's any questions or anything. So it's all organized. I can refer back to previous months as well. Loans. This is a big folder that I access quite a bit, and you probably will too. Initially, I was storing loan information in the property folder, but I found quickly that it was sort of getting kind of messy. So what I realized is that the loans needed to be in their own folder. So any loan that I have received, that I currently have in process, is listed in the loan folder. So I've got all my loans listed for any properties that I have, any loans. And then also over time, I've started to issue loans to others as well. And I lend money sometimes on other people's deals. And so any loans that I have out, I also have in their own folder as well. And so all the documents relating to that loan, all the information relating to that loan, it's all organized. And then once it's no longer active, once the loan is paid back, then it goes right into an archive folder that's also in the at the top. It's labeled 00 because each one of these, like you'll notice here, has an archive folder in it for the most part, so that you don't have to keep old stuff that you no longer really want to access or access on a regular basis. You can just move it right up into the archive folder so you're not seeing it every time you log in. Anything that's property related that's not, that's multiple properties related is in here. That's financial. And then paid invoices and receipts are going to live here as well once you pay invoices and receipts, again, that aren't related to properties, because property specific information is in the property folder. Now, and you notice there is one file in here, and this is the finance tracking spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet that contains pretty much all my financial related information. I've got a tab for everything, for all my properties, for my net worth calculations, for the loans that I have outstanding, for everything. So I track it all in one spreadsheet, and I access that a lot. And so I keep it right front and center in the finance folder, but that is the only file that lives outside of one of these other subfolders, and that's just because I'm accessing it all the time. All right, so if we move on to the folder number 3, which is property folder, this is the folder that I access the most of any folder. And that is because, we're constantly doing deals. And so what we've got here is 4 subfolders. We've got active deals, we've got completed deals, which are deals that we've already closed and we're no longer in process of, whether it's a flip or a rental. And I used to, again, separate flips and rentals, and I'd separate them by the entity name, and it got super confusing. I was searching all over to find different properties under different folders. So now I just have one property folder with any deal that I'm doing. So let's take a look at active deals. So right now I have 15 active deals going, and some of these are apartment buildings, and so it's more than one unit. Most of them are single family homes. So I just list them all by the address here, and then also at the top I've got it's actually under potential deals, so I'll go through it, but I've got a template for the folder so that I can just copy and paste the folder. So inside each one of these is the exact same setup of files as well. So I've got my buy folder, my contractor folder, my investor folder, my invoices, photos, property manager, and sell. So that way, the same documents for each file are going to come in on a the same documents for each property are going to be used on a consistent basis. And so I know the exact subfolder to locate it. So if I need to find a closing statement from a property I purchased 5 years ago, I can just go to the buy folder and I can find that closing statement, because that's where I save all of those type of files. Or if I want to see the photos and I want to post before and after photos, I can go here because I know I saved all the before photos in the before folder. This is a brand new property, so I don't have the before photos uploaded in here yet, but you can see before, after, during, and then even before and after side by side. Sometimes I'll have a VA come in and put them side by side, and they'll drop them right there so that I can post them on the web. So you can see how you stay super organized, so you don't have to do less work. Once you become overwhelmed, the tendency can seem like, well, I need to be doing less properties because it's just too overtaxing, as opposed to I just need to get super organized around the way I'm doing this, so that it makes it easy for me to locate the information that I need and make decisions quickly. And then also I can offload some of this work to other people who are working with me as well, and they know where to find the exact same information. So I won't go through it, but the completed deals are all here too. Potential deals, So deals that I'm analyzing but I haven't actually purchased yet are going to live here. And this is where I've got that template. This is pretty nice to have. So it's just the new deal address, and then all the templated folders are right here as well, the subfolders. So I can just copy and paste this anytime I've got a new property, and I just fill in the address, and then all the subfolders automatically populate. So each time you're not creating 7 new subfolders, you just got the template folder. So you can do this for any type of work that you're doing over and over again. And then any market research documents relating to properties live here. So I'm going to quickly go through the rest of these in the interest of time and I'll explain each one, but then I get to my content folder, and we've got all the media assets, so any content calendar, logo files, photos. So, a lot of times you're going to search for your logo files. You're going to use these things over and over for your business. It all lives in the same folder right here. You've got your website, anything relating to your website. I've got a podcast now, the Living Off Rentals podcast, and so all the episodes live here. All the assets, guest info form lives right here. YouTube, again, I've got a YouTube channel, the Living Off Rentals YouTube channel. Check it out. You're watching this video on it. Hit subscribe. Hit the thumbs up if you like it. Give me a comment let me know what you enjoy about this video, because this is the Living Off Rentals YouTube channel, and this is how I organize it. So each episode is going to have a different file right here, and then you can archive the old ones so that they're not taking up as much space, and you can also not sync the archive folder so that it doesn't take up as much space within your Google Drive if you don't want to. That's just for videos, because the videos can get kind of crazy in terms of the amount of space they're taking up. So all the content has its own folder. Just to summarize, any products that you have, I don't have a lot of products, but I do have some lead magnets for people to opt in to my email list, sales funnel. I don't use this that much right now. There's certain things that I do use is, a Facebook campaign, bandit signs, direct marketing mailers, but there's not a lot of files that relate to these things right now. That can grow over time, and that's why it's important to have this. Knowledge and training, so any information that you've learned over the years, it can get lost really easily. And so I've separated it out by business topics, personal topics, internal trainings, real estate checklists and templates, and content marketing. And these are just, you can add to this if there's another topic that you're interested in that you keep learning about. You can break this down further, but I highly recommend having a knowledge and training folder where you can go back to all the trainings that a lot of times you pay all this money for. You take it one time, or you see something that's really valuable on the internet and you don't have a place to store it, or you don't remember where you stored it. So if you have a designated folder, it's also this swipe file. I saw this from someone else, and it's something that a lot of people don't have, but somebody recommended to me, and it's been really valuable. A lot of times you'll see something that someone else is doing that's working, and you'll want to copy it, whether it's the copy, the wording on the page, or it's some type of graphic, or it's the way they present something. And so you'll do a screenshot, but then it lives in some random folder and you never see it again. Having a swipe file allows you to save it, and anyone from your team can save it. So if they come across a really great email sequence or graphic, they can just save it right here to the swipe file, and then you can, when you're working on that type of document in the future, you can come back here and you can access it from the folder right here. Public files, this is when you want to when you want to share a file with somebody else. It's sometimes nice to be able to drop it in a public file just to keep it separate, so that you know that's shared with someone outside of the organization. This will be more important as your team grows, so that you know anytime you're sharing stuff, it's not something that is just internal documents that you didn't want to share. Bunker Labs. So this is for me personally. I'm the CFO of a nonprofit called Bunker Labs, and so these are the bunker related files. So it relates to my day job really as a CFO of a nonprofit, and so those files are going to live here specifically. So if you are a real estate investor and then you also have other work that you do, then you can set up a folder specifically for the other work that you do and label it right here. And then anything that's relating to that, and there's subfolders in there too, but anything relating to Bunker Labs goes right there. And so it makes it easy for me to separate my business from the Bunker Labs business that I do. And then finally, number 10 is the only personal file that I have. So I've got 9 different files for business and 1 for personal. Seems kind of weird that I don't have much of a personal life, that I'm doing 9 times as much work, but you're just not going to save that many files for personal related things. Most of your files are going to be business related. So within personal, I've got my personal pictures. I've got, let's take a look. I've got documents, I've got personal finance, I've got photos, family, hobbies, personal development, and travel. So you can break this down however you like. If you have other interests or you have other topics that you need to save a file for, you can hear my son is yelling in the background. He's joining us for this YouTube video, which is great. I really appreciate that. And so speaking of personal, you can save all of the personal related documents right here, and that should be sufficient for all your personal documents. So hopefully that's a good overview of how you can mimic this system, and you can set up your documents or your Google Drive folders to mimic this, and it will give you one distinct place for all the files that you save, and you'll know exactly how to access them within seconds without doing a whole bunch of searching. So hopefully this system is as valuable for you as it has been for me in staying organized. I want to ask you a question before we take off. Are you a Living Off Rentals channel subscriber? If not, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You'll get other helpful videos like this relating to rental property investing. And also, give me the thumbs up if you got value out of this, and I will see you in the next video.